Welcome to another episode of VOV 24/7's Food Delight. Our show will highlight a special recipe and provide youthful cooking tips. On today's show, we have Adam Liaw, a cook, TV presenter, and author best known as a winner of MasterChef Australia 2010. During Adam Liaw's trip to ASEAN countries, including Vietnam in June, he presented some dishes to promote Australian cuisine. He shared his tips of making pepper steak spaghetti that we will bring you in today's show. Steak and cutlets in particular are common dishes in Western cuisine, but it's not easy to cook a perfect steak. Apart from some basic rules such as choosing the right meat and minding the temperature, each cook has his or her own way to make a perfect steak.
Cooking a steak is, to me, very simple. You need a heavy frying pan. You need to get that frying pan quite hot. Just season the steak with salt and pepper if you like. Salt definitely, pepper only if you want to. And then fry the steak. It doesn't matter how many times you flip it, but if you're using a high quality heavy pan, you'll get a nice crust on the outside of the steak.
The first secret I've learned is that we need a very hot and heavy frying pan to seal the beef. You don't need too many ingredients, just some salt and pepper to keep the natural flavor of steak. But the way you marinate the meat can also affect the success of your steak.
If you add salt to a steak, the best time to do that is anytime more than 40 minutes or less than 10 minutes. So I usually salt a steak just before it goes into a frying pan, and actually I only salt one side of the steak, fry that side, and then salt the other side when I turn it over, because salt will draw the moisture out of meat. So if you are salting a piece of meat, say 20 minutes beforehand, the salt will draw the moisture out of the meat, and it will make the outside of the meat wet. And that's what you don't want. You actually want the outside of the meat to be quite dry so that you can form a nice crust on it. If the outside of the meat is wet, it's actually steaming more than it's frying.
When making a steak, remember to distinguish between frying and steaming. So please remember this tip to assure that you are not steaming your steak.
And then when the steak is done to your liking, you rest it for rule of thumb, about half the amount of time that you've cooked the steak. So if you cook a steak for a total about 8 minutes, you would rest it for maybe 4 minutes, and that's going to ensure that the steak retains its moisture and stays moist after you cut it.
Through Adam's instruction, we've learned some great tips to successfully make a steak. A hot and heavy frying pan, time to marinate the steak, and letting it rest for a while to retain the moisture. For spaghetti, bring a large pot of salted water to a boil and cook the pasta until al dente. With the steak and spaghetti already, the final part of the dish is the sauce. Adam will tell us more.
This black pepper spaghetti dish was just basically a cream-based sauce, a bit of wine and stock into the pan that the steak was fried in to scrape up the fond of the pan, a little bit of cream to add some richness to the sauce, and that's it. Very, very simple. Some onion and garlic that was fried just at the end of, after the steak was fried, in a bit of butter there, then deglazing with the stock and the wine, and then the cream at the end before the pasta goes in. The pasta is always finished in the pan, and that just allows the final little bit of cooking of the pasta to absorb the flavor of the sauce, rather than just mixing the two together and having this separate sauce and pasta combination.
Normally when I cook spaghetti, I boil it first, then make the sauce, and finally mix them together. In Adam's recipe, the pasta is mixed in the pan. In this way, the spaghetti will better absorb the sauce. Pepper steak spaghetti is quite a hearty dish with a rich, creamy sauce. Why not try a new version of spaghetti with Adam Liaw's recipe? Join us again on our next show for more new recipes. Goodbye until next time.